would like to thank everyone for being here, but first, let's thank our cheer section for getting us on the mighty Trojan Band. Flag Corps, let's see some flags. Thank you, students, for being here. It's really nice for us to remember at all times what it's all about and what we are all about. Thank you. My name is Bonnie Kane, and I would like to welcome you to the 12-13 school year and thank last year's teachers, support staff, and principals for their hard work in academics, fine arts, ROTC, counseling, athletics, student clubs, student organizations, career and technology education. A special thanks goes to those teachers who worked extra, worked early, worked late, worked during lunch sometime, spending many hours helping our children. They always benefit from such endeavors. Would you please stand for the posting of the colors, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Our posting of the colors will be by the Honor Unit with Distinction, University High School JROTC, Cadet Battalion Commander Rosa Zapata.
Please join me as I recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will now have the singing of our national anthem by Michael Mays, a senior at University High School.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
As you can see, we are surrounded by excellence. Thank you. One more applause for that young lady's fabulous voice. And once again, thank you, students. Exactly 30 years ago, in 1983, A Nation at Risk was released. The report was a landmark event for modern American educational history. The report greatly contributed to an ever-growing and still present sense that public schools are failing. That report touched off waves of local, state, and national reform efforts. Since its distribution, state legislature after state legislature, particularly the Texas legislature, have passed countless reform measures focusing on ideas of school improvement. The state of Texas Assessments of Academic Readiness, also known as STAR, those tests, along with its forerunners, TAKS, TOS, TEAMS, and TABS, and No Child Left Behind, and our current AEIS, State Accountability System, are all outgrowths from that single publication in 1983. Since 1983 and the publication of A Nation at Risk, the question has always been whether or not we could craft schools effective enough to educate each and every child who participates in public education. From the richest to the poorest, from the best parented student to those students we know all too well who must raise themselves, from the smartest student to the student who struggles the most academically, and from our healthiest student to our most medically fragile. The question of can public education craft schools to effectively educate all students continues to hang around, even though schools themselves are only institutions. Education is the work of educators, not the work of schools. Schools may enable, but they do not deliver instruction. In spite of that, schools are annually judged via ratings based on the performance not only of individual students, but on specified student subgroups. Great schools do not occur without great teachers. Once a classroom door closes, once a lesson begins, once a student seeks assistance, it's up to the teacher, not the school building, to make learning happen. Good schools help. Great schools help even more. But great teachers are essential. The quality of experience a student has with the teacher matters. It matters a lot. The important thing is not the education system, not the school with all its components, but that teacher in that classroom. One never hears, "Oh, that school building really changed my life." But one often hears, and I know there are people in this room that have heard, "You have changed my life." You could be a teacher, a coach, a counselor, a band director, a librarian. You changed my life. And I don't think anyone who's ever heard that has ever forgotten it. You can remember when you were told that and where you were and what was said. I would like to introduce those who provide the direction and framework with which WISD's school personnel change the lives of students. We have two of our board of directors here. Our Vice President, Mr. Alan Sykes. Mr. Sykes. Whose wife is a teacher. Our board president, whose wife is also a teacher and who will bring greetings from the board, Mr. Pat Atkins.
Thank you, Dr. Kane. Good afternoon. Welcome to Waco ISD and welcome to another school year. It occurred to me this morning as I was preparing these remarks that Monday will mark the 21st consecutive year that Sandy and I have dropped one of our children off at the doorstep of a Waco ISD public school on the first day of school, and that's pretty cool. The other thing I thought about as I was preparing these remarks was about a presentation I had to make about 15 months ago at a retired teacher reception. And during those remarks, I quoted poetry that had been written by employees. I quoted lyrics from Alice Cooper. I was on a roll. And after the reception, I was talking to one of our teachers who had been there, And we started talking about my remarks, and she shared something that I've taken with me ever since. She said that as I was approaching the podium, she leaned over to one of the guests and said, "Get comfortable, this could take a while." I started thinking about it because you guys have heard me speak a lot from podiums over the last few years. Between convocations, graduations, opening of new campuses, new teacher orientation, retired teacher receptions, y'all have had to listen to me speak a lot. And the other part of that is, I'm shot, I'm spent. I got no more jokes, I got no more anecdotes, I got no more inspirational quotes. I got nothing. So last night after the board meeting, I looked at everybody on the board and I told them exactly what I just told you. And I said, so here's what I need you to do. I need you to take a couple of minutes, and if you were standing at that podium tomorrow, what would you say on the eve of the start of another school year? And they did it. I was impressed with a couple of things. Number one, the seriousness with which the Board of Trustees approached my homework assignment. I expected a little bit of sarcasm and perhaps some of them to be flippant, but as you're going to hear, they actually gave me some pretty weighty words and observations. The other thing I noticed was just how horrible the handwriting is of your Board of Trustees that I'm going to have to read over the next couple of minutes. We're going to do what they say can't be done. We're going to do what they say can't be done. The first year Dr. Bonnie Kane was here, I heard her say those words in countless meetings with civic groups. I heard her say it to small groups of parents. I heard her say it in newspaper interviews. I heard her say it in radio interviews. I heard her say it the very night we announced her as the new superintendent of the Waco Public Schools. And the day, for the first time, I have a confession, Bonnie. I know you intended for those words to be inspirational and motivational, but I never heard inspiration. I heard Smokey and the Bandit. I don't know if y'all know, I'm dating myself a little bit, but the theme song to Smokey and the Bandit was East, Down, and Bound, performed by that great American singer-songwriter Jerry Reed. And so every time you spoke, I heard Jerry Reed, who also gave us great lyrics like, she got the gold mine and I got the shaft. So I'm sorry. Let me share with you what some of your Board of Trustees wanted you to hear today. I'll begin with Mr. Sykes because he's sitting up here on stage. Here's what he asked me to say. He said, please acknowledge all the hard work done during the summer and the dedication demonstrated by all our employees. He said, remember to compliment them for everything they went through with such a tremendous transition as a result of past consolidations. Wish them the very best success this next year, and tell them the board hopes that this will be an enjoyable and most successful year. I want to follow up on something Alan alluded to, and that is the transition as a result of having to consolidate and close so many campuses. I know a number of you are new to the district, and so I'll give you a little bit of the backstory. The Texas legislature, a little over 2 years ago, cut funding to public education to the extent to where Waco ISD lost over $5 million. And we had to cut $5 million from our budget. And like most public school districts, almost 80% of our revenue is spent on salaries and benefits. We weren't going to lay off teachers and we weren't going to cut salaries, so that was off the table. The next biggest part of our expenditures are student programs. And the board said, we're not going to cut the fine arts, we're not going to cut programs for the gifted and talented, we're not going to cut athletics or special ed or programs that are needed to ensure that our students are successful. And that left the third area of expenditures, which was facilities. And when we took a look at facilities, what we discovered was 24% of the space that we were lighting, heating, cooling, insuring, repairing, and maintaining, we weren't using. And so then we had to look at the difficult task of actually using our buildings in a more efficient manner. And that resulted in one night the closure of 25% of our campuses. And it was difficult on a number of you, and I know that. But I also know a year and a half later we made the right decision, because that decision saved literally millions of dollars. Because of the willingness to close those campuses, we were able to put in place the Atlas Academy for our gifted students. This year we were able to extend the Atlas Academy to both high schools in the form of an Atlas Academy for our ninth graders and freshmen. We were able to set up the Greater Waco Advanced Manufacturing Academy for our students that may not pursue a four-year academic degree. Perhaps most important to you folks, last night, we were able to approve a 4% pay raise across the board for every employee in this district. That's on top of the 3% raise we were able to give last year. Not only that, but you may have read in the paper this morning, our insurance costs, health insurance costs this coming year went up 9.9%. And because of those savings, we were able to absorb all those costs, didn't have to pass any of that on to the employees, and you'll still have your health insurance for free. And the last thing it allowed us to do was we were able to give back to you the 2 extra days of local leave that we took away last year, and you've got those back. Getting back to the trustees, Larry Pettis had this to say. He said, remind them that this is an awesome responsibility they are assuming in educating our kids. Remind them that this is a passion and that they don't do it for the money. I don't think I need to remind you, you don't do it for the money. Trustee Sykes had a similar sentiment. He said, students deserve the best, and our shared goal is to deliver results to each student, each class, and each campus. Kerry Dupuy took a slightly different focus. He focused more on the relationships and the chance to really make a connection. Kerry said, even in middle age, we all have vivid memories of things, people, learning experiences that stay with us a lifetime. Something that happened yesterday or last week fades quickly for adults, but not so for children. Make good experiences for your kids. Those experiences will be reference points for them for the rest of their lives. Make learning a positive. I had to speak last week at the new teacher orientation, and we talked a lot about relationships, had opportunity to make a connection, and I quoted poet Maya Angelou, who said, I've learned that people will forget what you said, and people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. You all have an opportunity here to form an incredible relationship with your students and make them feel special. And as I said, when we spoke to the new teachers a week and a half ago, I spent a lot of time talking about that relationship between teacher and student and the opportunities for professional relationships among your colleagues. But one thing I really didn't allude to was the relationship between the staff and the Board of Trustees. You know, I watch the national news and I see other school districts where that relationship is full of anger and vitriol and just a great deal of animosity between management and faculty. And I'm happy to say we don't have that in Waco ISD. Whether it's Mary Duty writing a letter to the editor or a column to explain some of the things we've put in place and being supportive of board decisions, or whether it's your professional teacher organizations representing your interests in a professional and respectful manner with the Board of Trustees and helping us find common ground, we've got a really special relationship. I want to give you one example. I've never done this before today. February 23rd, I'll remember that day because it was also my wife's birthday. We closed 8 campuses that night, including my wife's campus. I came into the office the next morning, had 20 emails from @wacoisd.org. And I understood. And I expected anger and frustration, and understandably so. We had just taken you out of classrooms, off of campuses, and away from colleagues that you had spent your entire professional lives with on some occasion. But when I opened the mailbox after getting a cup of coffee, this is what I found. The Waco ISD Board and Administration did the right thing. My head tells me the decision is a must. My heart tells me that I must say goodbye to a campus that has served us very well. But we will go forward with dignity and grace. Another said, you took the time necessary to hear from all sides before reaching difficult decisions. In what could have been a very contentious ending, I believe most people felt the process was fair and the district was pointed in the right direction. Another, thank you for sharing your personal stake in the school closure discussion. I know we'll get through this, and I know we'll keep the classroom a place of wonder and discovery. I appreciate you. I know last night was difficult for you, but as usual, you handled it with compassion, dignity, integrity, and of course, your disarming humor. I've always understood the dire situation that Waco ISD was in and supported school closures, even though I knew that my campus would be closed. It had to be done, and I feel you and the board handled the situation well under the circumstances. Another, thank you for what you do for your kids. We appreciate you. Thank you for all your hard work, caring, and commitment. Or you, of all people, had every right to vote not to close your school, but you took the stance of what is best for the district and you followed through. Abe Lincoln said nearly all men can stand adversity, but if you want to test a man's character, give him power. Your character has shown to be golden. Thanks for what you do. And they go on and on. I'm not sharing these today because I necessarily believe any of that. But you had a right to be angry. And when I opened up those mailboxes and those emails, there were 20 emails from employees and campus staff and teachers who were affected. And even though we made difficult decisions, we asked you to make tremendous sacrifices. And out of 20 emails, there wasn't one angry word. You stood by us and you supported us. You know, when we talked about the compensation package earlier, I came home from the budget workshop 3 weeks ago, and I told Sandy everything it looked like we were going to be able to do. And she sat up, looked at me, and she said, "Are you trying to buy our love?" Yes. Now, I'll tell you the same thing I told the group this morning. We're not trying to buy your love. You've earned those raises, and you've earned that compensation package. You've earned it because of the things you do and the things you have done and the things you'll continue to do in classrooms all across this community. But you also earned it because when we asked you to make tremendous sacrifices over the last couple of years, you stood by us and you supported us. And so on behalf of the board, I want to pause just a moment and say thank you. All right, one last thing. I get asked all the time, why do you do this? Job doesn't pay anything, you put in a lot of hours. Why do you do this? And I'll tell you why I do it. I do it because I believe in Waco ISD. I believe in this district, and I believe in every one of you. I believe in your ability to touch and transform a life in your classroom this year. I believe in your ability to be able to find things in those kids that they don't even know are inside themselves. And I sincerely believe that we are on the edge of taking this district to unprecedented levels of success. I wish Norman Manning could be here because he may have had the best quote that any of the trustees wanted to share with you. Here's what Mr. Manning said. He said, "Tell them this. You are in the right place at the right time. Waco ISD is on the launch stage for a trip to the stars, and you will be guiding this trip." He's right. That's the key. You're the key. We are going to do things they say can't be done. And when we do, we're going to shock this community, and we're going to send shock waves across the state. And when we do it, it's going to be because of you and your efforts and the very things you do in the classroom every day. In closing, I want to share something that our board patriarch, part-time philosopher, country music aficionado, sometimes adversary, but always friend, Alex Williams said. He said, "May the best day in your past be the worst day in your future." And we do hope that as a board. We hope that this year is better than any year we've had in the past. We hope every day you walk in the classroom and it's better than the day before. We hope that this is the best year you have ever had in your professional lives in public education. So, on behalf of the Board of Trustees, once again, thank you, and go have a great year.
Thank you. What a way to start a year. Because that adversarial role he's talking about in some of those districts, a board can make a staff want to be adversarial, or a board can work to make a staff want to be cooperative and want to understand. And that's what this board actually made clear to me from day one, and they have lived up to that every day, every meeting. So, let's talk about some of those people you want to, that we want to honor, and let's start with some teachers who've been helping students for quite some time. These are classroom teachers, teachers of record, teachers with more than 40 years in education. Now, remember, we've got two feeder patterns. We're also, I'm glad to know, we have a lot of back row Baptists here. In case you can't see these 800 empty seats up front, okay? Back row Baptists are alive and well in Waco ISD. So as I call these names, so we have a Waco High School feeder pattern and a University High feeder pattern, but it's almost like we're on the cusp. We're not really quite big enough, it seems, for two, but we are because we don't have enough seats. But one's too many, so we're having to do two feeder patterns. So I'm going to read the names of some teachers who have experience, just because I know you know them. They have been on many campuses, like Mr. Atkins said. Our first teacher actually was in the Waco High feeder pattern. Just for your information, Gloria McCoy had 41 years experience, and she's at Brook Avenue. But with 42 years of teaching experience and currently serving as culinary arts teacher at University High, Diana Crompton. Is Miss Crompton out cooking? Ah, there you are. Please come down. Come down. We have something for you. I believe Mr. Sykes or Mr. Atkins. The mic. Oh, we have a mic, but our singer left with the mic. Dr. Shepard's trying to increase his assets here by telling everybody to hang on to stuff. Okay, Mr. Atkins, is there something you want to ask?
No, Mr.
Sykes.
Sykes.
Congratulations on 40 plus years. And I think our group with us today would really like to know if you have any special recommendations on, based on your experiences after 40 years.
I think just to get to know your students very individually, that's the most important thing. They all have very different needs.
Okay, very good.
All right.
Congratulations.
Also with 42 years of teaching experience and currently serving as a supplemental instruction teacher at Hillcrest PDS, Vern Cotton. Where's Hillcrest? Hillcrest? Ah. Okay. Miss Cotton must be in her classroom preparing for Monday. We'll send the flowers over. With 43 years of teaching experience and currently teaching 3rd grade at Hillcrest PDS, Sandra Jannings.
All right, you don't get the flowers yet. Before we give you the flowers, same thing Mr. Sykes asked, what pearls of wisdom do you have based on over 40 years experience in the public schools?
I say is get to know your students, even if it means closing the books and closing your door, but get to know your students. And let your students know that you love them and that you care for them. That's it. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, Ms. Jennings.
and thank you.
Congratulations.
We have another teacher with 44 years of teaching experience, not in this feeder pattern, but at Indian Spring, for those of you who've taught in the past, with Catherine Morris, 44 years. Also with 44 years of experience and currently teaching in a credit recovery lab at Wiley Opportunity Center, Vivian Dodgen. Vivian?
Congratulations. And you're also offered the opportunity. Any recommendations for the group with us today?
Just be there for the children, whatever they need.
Very good. Thank you. Congratulations.
Our teacher with the most experience, 46 years teaching, currently teaching in the elementary DAEP at the Wiley Opportunity Center, Miss Weldeline Satterwhite.
All right. This is the second year in a row I've had to talk to Weldeline and give her a microphone, and this always scares the hell out of me. All right. PG, what advice would you give these folks based on your 46 years of experience?
Let's step out in the alley and I'll tell you. I can't give out confidential information. No, just do it. Just do it. I'm stealing from Nike. Just do it.
Fantastic.
Mr. Atkins, I notice we've been handing out flowers with teachers' experience. What is that you got?
I've got something special for my dear friend, Ms. Satterwhite. You have a gift card to the Outback Steakhouse. And it says you can take the trustee of your choice. Congratulations, Weldeline.
Let's thank all of these teachers for all these years' experience. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 7 teachers I've named with over 40 years' experience. How many years is that? That's a lot of dedication to a lot of students. Waco ISD operations can be likened to a small city. Our school district proper covers 61.11 square miles. Our business office has a $5 million monthly payroll. We have an 84 bus transportation fleet, our own television channel, and our own police force. Our food services department, you know those little half pints of milk that the kids drink? We will order 2,832,000 of those for this year. We will also order 856,800 apples. Last year, our students ate 2,095,350 hamburger buns. We expect 14,900 students on Monday. 31% will be African American, 56% will be Hispanic, 11% will be Caucasian. 90% of those students will qualify for the free and reduced price lunch program, meaning they are of low socioeconomic status. They will have fewer resources than all the other students. Last year, Waco ISD had more kindergartners than the Crawford and Bosqueville school districts had combined in student enrollment K-12. Last year, University High School had more students than the K-12 student enrollment of Lorena ISD. And Waco High School had 200 more students than the K-12 student enrollment of McGregor ISD. We are a large school district. It takes about 10 days for our grounds crew to do the trimming, mowing, edging on our property. We have 425 acres. They start here, and it takes 10 days, 10 working days for them to get back to where they started. Last year, we spent approximately $500,000 just cooling our 560 classrooms. It's not counting the rest of the building. I'm going to pause on this one because the oldest existing structure in the Waco Independent School District, built in 1910, is the cafeteria wing of Alta Vista. So whenever the board trustees come out with a bond issue and people say we're wasting money, we're going to have that first meeting at the Alta Vista cafeteria and say, we get our money's worth. And our newest existing structure in the Waco Independent School District is Bells Hill Elementary, completed for the 12-13 school year. Our district has 15 elementary schools, 4 middle schools, 2 high schools, and 4 ancillary campuses. One is the Wally Opportunity Center, our district DAEP. We have the Challenge Academy, which is our JJAEP, actually for the county. Brazos High School is our credit recovery campus. And our newest campus, as Mr. Atkins mentioned, the Greater Waco Advanced Manufacturing Academy. It's a junior senior level academy for Waco ISD and students in other school districts, which is a first for us. And it is students who desire a specific career path. Right now, the only career path is welding, but as we get welding in, next year we will add to that, and then ultimately we want to add a healthcare academy. What makes that academy different from other academies is so many times businesses say to high schools, you're not teaching kids the right skills, they get out, they were antiquated, and so we said, okay, help us, and they did. They stepped up to the plate big time. Our curriculum matches exactly what they need. We had a call just the other day from, I think it was Train, and they said, now y'all are doing the copper something with welding, and they said, no, we don't have that. And they said, well, if we send over all the things you need, will you teach that? Yes, we will. That's what makes it work. It's that business connection, and they're also willing to step up to the plate and know you just can't call a school district and say, oh, y'all need to buy this and that and the other. They know they've got to be a part of it, and that's what's going to be a game changer for this district and also for the state. Waco ISD is going to be first in doing these kinds of projects with the business community. Hats off to Career and Technology and the Business League. As of today, we have 1,955 employees. 45% are 873 are teachers. 18% are paraprofessionals, clerks, and secretaries in that job family. The job family of custodians, cafeteria workers, maintenance, grounds crew, the police force, that is 21%. The professional group, which is librarians, DIAGs, speech teachers, LSSPs, counselors, instructional specialists, that's 10%. And of that 1,955, 6.5% is the administrative staff. It's always reassuring for us when our graduates choose to come back and work in Waco ISD. So I'm going to ask if you graduated from any pre-existing, I know there's been many high schools that aren't, but if you graduated from any Waco ISD high school, stand up. We want to thank you for coming back. Wow, that's a big number. We like that continuity and consistency. Thank you for coming back. WISD is fortunate to have a high-quality staff. Our students need that quality. Their world is ever-changing and complex. Student enrollment in Texas continues to escalate, and children will come to us this year with more, not fewer needs. Texas is growing more and faster than other states. That growth is driven by a balance of just general increase and net migration. Unauthorized migrants make up about 6.5% of our population. New Texans are a diverse lot. The idea of predominantly white suburbs is no longer in existence. And there's not a value judgment on that, as these changes are what they are, and they are ours to deal with. And we have to have the staff and the training to deal with whatever changes and whatever needs come through our door. So it is with pleasure that I introduce some of our staff who have proven that they are more than capable to manage change. And we will start with our Waco ISD Elementary Teacher of the Year. She teaches bilingual pre-K at Kendrick Elementary. Kendrick Principal Julie Sapal relays with 42 students who don't take naps and with 84 parents to please, who but an outstanding teacher would not just take on such a challenge but have a never-ending smile on her face. Ladies and gentlemen, it is once again a privilege for me to introduce Blanca Valdez, the 12-13 Waco ISD Elementary Teacher of the Year. Ms. Valdez, please come down so Mr. Sykes can present you with some flowers for your desk. Pre-K bilingual, they're just teeny tiny kids, but they're so sweet, but there's a lot of them.
Congratulations on this wonderful achievement. What recommendations do you have for our group today?
Well, I think everybody here is passionate about our job, and I basically do what is best for our kids and care about them. And as our principal always says, it's about relationships and building those relationships during the year.
Wonderful. Congratulations.
Thank you. More flowers. The future of public education in Texas and across our nation depends on many factors, the most important of which is the availability of promising men and women who are passionate about the teaching profession. 2 years ago, Waco ISD established the Virginia Dupuy First Year Teacher Award to honor one of its rising star teachers every year who just knocks the top off, and we cannot believe that they are doing so well and it's their first year to teach. The award is named after a former teacher, former mayor, and one of Waco's strongest and most well-known education advocates, Miss Virginia Dupuy. Our Dupuy Award recipient in 2013 was Persia Manning, a Miss Manning, if you could make your way down here. Miss Manning is a multi-age teacher at Lake Air Montessori Magnet School. One of Persia's students summed it up when she said, quote, "When I grow up, I want to be a teacher just like Miss Manning. I will not be an ordinary teacher. I will be one to remember. Because of Miss Manning, I know what I'm going to be when I grow up, the best teacher in the world."
I'm gonna have to delay asking you about your 40 years of experience. We'll come back in 40 years. How about that? Give us what you're looking forward to next year.
Well, I've learned a lot this year, that past year, and I cannot wait to see what my children have for me. I learned so much from them last year, and everything that I was able to accomplish was because of them. They taught me so much, so I cannot wait to see what they have for me this year.
Thank you so much. Congratulations.
We will now salute campuses that made student performance the absolute focal point of their efforts last year and met standard. Of the 14 campuses having met standard, 7 are in the Waco High feeder pattern and 7 are in the University High feeder pattern. First plaque, Bells Hill Elementary. Miss Bevel Cone, please come down and accept your plaque and WISD's gratitude for all the hard work. Okay, Bells Hill, I've never heard y'all so quiet. Let's hear it for Bevel Cone and Bells Hill. Next plaque, Hillcrest PDS. Mr. Larry Carpenter was last year's principal. Mr. Carpenter, please come and accept Hillcrest plaque and WISD's gratitude, and Mr. Carpenter will in turn hand off Hillcrest plaque to this year's principal, Miss Lisa Kane. Good job. Our next plaque, Kendrick Elementary and Miss Julie Sapal. Miss Sapal is the principal of Kendrick, and I'm told she's also known as the mayor of South Waco. And you'll see her on the street. If kids don't come to school, she'll be knocking on their door, and if the parent says, I can't get them out of the bed, she says, I can, and she just walks right in and gets them out of bed. Now, I don't know if she'd do the same for teachers, but if I were you guys, I wouldn't try it, okay? Thank you. Kendrick, you guys are always tops. Round of applause. Again, we have a situation where we had a principal change. Dr. Robin McDermott, if you will come down here. She was last year's principal at Lake Air Montessori. And Miss Jessica Hicks. Miss Hicks, we would like to give the plaque to Dr. McDermott for being the principal, who will hand it off to Jessica Hicks, who is this year's principal of Lake Air Montessori Magnet School. Plaque for A.J. Moore Academy. It's last year. Miss Angela Ryer. Miss Ryer? Ms. Ryer has been the principal of the standalone A.J. Moore Academies for many years, and it is most appropriate that she accept A.J. Moore's plaque for having met standard. Alternative high schools have their own accountability system, and Brazos High School met standard for that particular system. Miss Robin Wilson. Miss Wilson is the principal of Brazos High School, and she is coming forward to accept Brazos's plaque as well as our thanks. This was the first year Brazos was formed, and Miss Wilson, from day one, she's out recruiting kids. We've got babies there. We've got, I think somebody tried to bring their dog, and I think she probably drew the line at that, but we're getting kids who've decided to drop back into school their diploma. Thank you. Last and certainly not least, University High School. Dr. Bill Shepard. Thank you, and hats off, University High School. The 2013 State Accountability Rating System included distinction designations. 6 campuses earned distinction designations. 3 campuses were in each feeder pattern. I didn't make this up. This is a pretty balanced district. A certificate thanking the district and the campus and recognizing the distinction earned, and on the back of it is a $100 gift card to Sodexo so that the campus principal and the campus can use it for a faculty meeting, a lunch, or however. $100 gift certificate, Kendrick Elementary. To those who say it can't be done, Kendrick has a 98.17% poverty rate. They have been rated as having met standard and have earned a distinction designation for its academic achievement in math, and, oh, she got 200, did you? 2 of them. Oh, and for being in the top 25%. So she's got $200, guys. So y'all can decide how you're going to do that. Dr. McDermott, you and Ms. Hicks are going to have to stand up again. Dr. McDermott, come down. Lake Air Montessori has been rated as having met standard, and in addition, Lake Air earned a distinction designation for its academic achievement in reading and for being in the top 25% for student progress for their campus comparison group in Performance Index 2. Dr. McDermott, please accept these 2 gift certificates and pass them on to Ms. Hicks for refreshments at an upcoming Lake Air faculty meeting or lunch. No happy hour. No happy hour. Last but not least, in this feeder pattern, Hillcrest PDS. Mr. Carpenter and Ms. Kane. Hillcrest was rated as having met standard. In addition, they earned 3 distinctions. That's $300. Mr. Carpenter, you think they'd invite you back for one of these soirees they're probably going to have. I think I'd be looking for an invitation. Hillcrest earned a distinction designation for its academic achievement in math, for its academic achievement in reading, and for being in the top 25% for student progress. Wow. As stated earlier, education is the work of educators, not the work of schools. Schools may enable, but they do not deliver instruction. Great schools do not occur without great teachers. Waco ISD's 2012-13 Top 10 Superstar, with the 2 A's, star, superstar teachers who maximize learning with low socioeconomic students will receive a $100 purchase order to school specialty teacher supply. Students labeled GT were taken out of this particular category. So elementary cluster teachers who had their GT students removed, Atlas teachers, well, obviously, that was a large group, because we wanted to see what our teachers were doing with non-GT, low socioeconomic students. Of this 10, 6 are in the UHS feeder pattern and 4 were in the Waco High feeder pattern. Those teachers, counting down from 10, are number 10, superstar teacher, Daniel Flagging, UHS World History Mastery. And I think we know why a certain person's wife is here. Miss Botel did this, oh, I'm sick, Sue Flagging, could you please go to the to the award ceremony? So actually we're now, you're on to us. Tied in place 8 and 9, superstar teachers. The first, Amanda Ziegler, Kendrick Elementary, Combined Mastery, 3rd grade reading and math scores. Miss Ziegler? And tied with her, also from Kendrick, Lena Ortiz. Miss Ortiz's scores were mastery for 5th grade math, reading, and science scores. Number 7 superstar teacher was from Mountain View. Number 6 was from Parkdale. Number 5. Number 5 superstar teacher, Paula White, Bells Hill Elementary. Miss White had combined mastery for 5th grade math, reading, and science scores. So you can't say that was easy. At a 90% mastery level, there was a 3-way tie for places 2, 3, and 4. 2 of those were in the Waco High feeder pattern, but one, a University High School geometry teacher, Carolina Gutierrez. Oh, I'm getting this, so she's on, well, we want to honor her. Dr. Shepard, or your math department chair, or somebody. Oh, here we go. Oh, we got 2 somebodies, even better. Okay, make certain she gets that with our appreciation. Numero uno, WISD Super Rockstar teacher at 92% low SES student mastery, 4th grade writing, reading, and math from Bells Hill, Erica Serrato. While Met Standard is one mark, commended status is quite another. Now we included the identified gifted students, and you would think they were these teachers would all be teaching gifted classes, and that's not, I think our advanced academics department's looking back into some of their strategies, because identified gifted students were included when calculating this next category, and they will be our 2012-13 top 10 star commended champs. These teachers maximize learning with low socioeconomic students, because these are only low socioeconomic students counted, GT or not, whether or not they were labeled gifted, and they will also receive a $100 open purchase order to a teacher's supply. As stated, great schools do not happen without great teachers. Counting down from 10, these great teachers had the highest proportion of identified low socioeconomic students reaching commended status. Of the 10, 4 are from the University High feeder pattern. Tied for places 10, 9, 8, and 7, 2 of them are from this feeder pattern, each having taught 33% of their students to commended status. Haley Dean, Lake Air Montessori for Algebra 1. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Also tied in that 10, 9, 8, 7 group at 33%, 5th grade science, reading, math, Kendrick Elementary, Karen Reeves. Thank you, Ms. Reeves. Now we kind of skip down through 6, 5, 4, and 3rd, which is in the other feeder pattern, but 2nd and 1st place in this feeder pattern. In 2nd place with 58% of her students at commended status teaching third grade math and reading at Bells Hill, Jennifer Garza. Thank you, Ms. Garza. Thank you. In first place, 61% of her students having met commended status, WISD's Top Gun, multi-age class at Hillcrest PDS, Darlene Bofing. Come on down, Top Gun. With 41 years' experience and currently serving as a supplemental instruction teacher at Brook Avenue, Gloria McCoy. Ms. McCoy.
We're gonna put her on the spot.
How you doing?
He's got questions for you.
This is one that we are all anxious to hear. After 40 years, what advice do you have to the teachers in the room today?
Keep on trucking.
Well said.
With 44 years of teaching experience and currently teaching math at Indian Spring Middle School, Catherine Morris. Ms. Morris, please come on down.
I can't think of a better question than that. I've been thinking, I had to think of something better, but that's really the best question. What advice do you have for the rest of our staff?
Just hang in there and keep on keeping on.
Sound like a pretty sound advice, and it's pretty common, so I think we can take that as, it is the endurance, it's believing in yourself and believing in your students. It is with pleasure that I introduce some of our staff who have proven that they are more than capable to manage any kind of change that's thrown at us. Our Waco ISD Elementary Teacher of the Year is in the University High School feeder pattern, so we will start with our Secondary Teacher of the Year. Did you get that? Our Secondary Teacher, there will be no flowers because it's a male, and at the last minute, Dale Caffey said, wait, you can't give flowers to our Secondary Teacher of the Year, Mr. Matt Randall. Matt Rambo. Last year, don't go, Mr. Rambo. Last year, Mr. Rambo was a science teacher at Waco High School. He now serves as our district content specialist for scientists, and are our science teachers lucky? One of Mr. Rambo's students wrote last year, quote, "From the first day of school, Mr. Rambo forms a bond with each individual student. Every day he walks in with a smile on his face, and you can tell he looks forward to teaching us. Mr. Rambo's lessons are so fun that he makes us want to learn. Please join me in thanking him again for being such a fabulous teacher." More words of advice, this time from our secondary teacher of the year.
You ready?
Yeah, sure.
All right. You got anything to share with all these folks on the eve of the start of another school year, will be?
Well, I think it would be, make sure you take time for yourself.
Good advice, good advice. Thank you, Mr. Rambo. Effective campus leadership is the key ingredient to the success of any school. A school without a strong principal is like a ship without a rudder. It may float and it may move, but nothing controls its direction. Our principal of the year, Marcia Henry. Miss Henry? Yeah, no comment. Yeah, oh yeah. Marcia Henry is the principal of Parkdale Elementary. It is a school rated exemplary in the final 2 years of the state's former accountability system. Parkdale stayed the course in 2013 by meeting all required standards in the new system. Of special note, Parkdale's student achievement scores this past spring were 21 points above the state target. Parkdale's low SES student population for that same spring was 89%. Please honor with your applause our 2013 Principal of the Year.
Okay. With your obvious level of success as principal, what advice do you have for our audience today, and most certainly the principals that are here today?
I think I can say two things for teachers. First, be prepared. Spend time looking at what you're going to be teaching. All of the stuff that is done before you go into the classroom will pay big dividends. Second, love what you do. Love what you do. Love those kids that walk in the classroom every day. Love what you do.
Okay. Thank you.
Give one to each one. Thank you. We will now salute campuses that made student performance the absolute focal point of their efforts last school year and met standard. Of the 14 campuses having met standard, 7 are in the Waco High feeder pattern and 7 are in the University High feeder pattern. Crestview Elementary. – Miss Melody Herring was last year's Crestview principal. Miss Herring, are you here as well? She may be in the other feeder pattern. But our current principal, Mr. Brandon Cope, if you could make your way down. I don't know if Melody's here. Miss Melody Herring was last year's Crestview principal. Miss Herring will accept Crestview's plaque and Waco ISD's appreciation, and will in turn hand off Crestview's plaque to this year's principal, Mr. Brandon Cope.
To her.
Thank you very much. Miss Yolanda Williams, principal of Dean Highland, please come down. Ms. Williams, please accept the district's appreciation for your hard work, your campus's hard work, for having met standard. Thank you. Miss Melissa Pritchard, Mountain View, come on down. Mountain View will be back up here in a few minutes when we talk about our distinctions, but thank you very much for your hard work. It is clear that Mountain View is singularly and wholeheartedly focused. Thank you, Mountain View. Parkdale Elementary, again, Miss Marcia Henry, met standard. Last year's principal of West Avenue was Miss Andrea Foster, so she's in Victoria this year, so she will not be able to accept this plaque. But our new principal of West Avenue, Mr. Joseph Alexander, please come on down. Tennyson Middle School, Keith Hanna, come on down. Mr. Hanna, please accept this plaque and our appreciation for Tennyson having met standard. Waco High School. Mr. Alfredo Laredo was last year's Waco High School principal. Mr. Laredo. Mr. Laredo, please accept Waco High's plaque and Waco ISD's most heartfelt gratitude for your campus having met standard. Mr. Laredo. Mr. Laredo accepted the technology director position and will therefore pass on the campus plaque to this year's Waco High School principal, Mr. Sam Sexton, or his assistant principals. Get on down here, assistant principals. Okay, we're counting on you guys to give the message to Mr. Sexton that he's got the bar has been set. Waco High did what they said couldn't be done. And from what I'm hearing, it's just the beginning. Good job. Yes, they're designated designations. Okay. The 2013 state accountability ratings included distinction designations. 6 campuses earned distinction designation. 3 campuses were in each feeder pattern. Crestview Elementary, Mr. Cope. Mr. Cope, you're really looking good, and you just started. I mean, he just had been there 2 months, and look, he's already getting all these awards. Crestview Elementary has been rated as met standard. In addition, Crestview earned a distinction designation for its academic achievement in math. Mr. Cope, if you will look at the back of that certificate, it says you get the campus gets a $100 gift certificate from Sodexo for a faculty meeting or a faculty lunch. We'll give you the details later on how to collect that. Distinction designation, Parkdale Elementary, come on down. In addition to having met standard, Parkdale earned a distinction designation for its academic achievement in reading. Ms. Henry, please accept. You also get a gift certificate for refreshments or however you want to use it for Sodexo throughout the year for your campus. Some of our campuses earned more than one distinction designation. Mountain View Elementary, Melissa Pritchard, come on down. Again. Not only did Mountain View meet standard, it was the absolute top scoring campus, hands down, in Waco ISD. Therefore, it will be no surprise that Mountain View earned a distinction designation for its academic achievement in math, for its academic achievement in reading, and for being in the top 25% for student progress for their campus comparison group for performance in Index 2. Ms. Pritchard, if you will look on the back of your 3 gift certificates, they're worth $100 each. You could either have a big party or spread them out during the year, but thank you for your hard work and bon appetit. As stated earlier, education is the work of educators, not the work of schools. Schools may enable, but they do not deliver instruction. Great schools do not occur without great teachers. But number 7, superstar teacher, Kimberly Scroggins, Mountain View, with combined mastery for 4th grade writing, reading, and math scores. Ms. Scroggins, are you here? Mr. Sykes has a certificate for you, and on the back is directions on how to get a $100 in whatever you would like from school specialty. You'll probably have extra friends when you go back, so. Number 6, superstar teacher, Crystal Stanford, Parkdale Elementary. This is combined mastery percentage for 4th grade writing, reading, and math scores. At a 90% mastery level, 90% of these teachers, low SES students, mastered their STAR exam. There was a 3-way tie for places 2, 3, and 4. So, and they're alphabetical order, okay. Parkdale Elementary, Deborah Nowert, elementary, 90% mastery, reading and math. At 90% mastery, Waco High School's Matt Rambo. You guys are going to miss him. While met standard is one mark, commended status is quite another. Identified gifted students were included when calculating the next category. Waco ISD's 12-13 top 10 star commended champs. These teachers maximize learning with low socioeconomic students, whether or not they were labeled gifted. You didn't have to be gifted, but we put the gifted kids back in the pool. They also will receive a $100 gift certificate, open purchase order to school specialty or a pseudo school specialty. As stated, great schools do not occur without great teachers. Counting down from 10, these great teachers had the highest proportion of identified low socioeconomic students reaching commended status. Of the 10, 4 are from the University High Feeder pattern and 6 are from the Waco High Feeder pattern. Tied for places 10, 9, 8, and 7, each having taught 33% of their student population to commended status. The first teacher was also in the first group, which is incredible. Parkdale Elementary, Deborah Noward. Ms. Nowert, Dr. Everett has already planned. There will be someone in your classroom day and night trying to analyze what exactly it is that you do that we can duplicate in every classroom. Also tied in places 7, 8, 9, 10, Mountain View's Patricia Morgan, 5th grade science, reading, and math. Our 6th place commended champ taught 7th grade reading and writing at Atlas last year, with 39% of her low SES students reaching commended status, Shirley Strong. Fifth place, Atlas teacher, teaching 6th grade reading, having brought 41% of her students to commended status, Dawn Griffin. Our 3rd place, commended champ, also teaching at Atlas, specifically Algebra 1, having taught to a level that 47% of her students are at commended status, Jane Sykes. We will have similar recognitions next year. This could be you. I have more certificates and plaques than you can imagine. Please join us in this celebration as a campus, as an individual teacher. A round of applause for all that hard work. Yeah, they can sit down. What grade is she in? We have technical difficulties. At 4th place, at Atlas, teaching 8th grade reading, Carol Miller Compton. This is kind of like at Christmas. You think all the presents are open and someone says, oh, you forgot this one. It's like, woohoo. Thank you, Ms. Compton. The student performance on campuses with classrooms that met standard, and particularly those that earned the various distinctions, show that 1, high expectations work, 2, improved student learning results when we give our very best efforts, And 3, we are only limited by our own expectations because our students will rise to that expectation. No student should be at risk because of the teacher he or she has. No student should be at risk because of the school district he or she is in. No student should be at risk because of things beyond that student's control. Interestingly enough, other states, and in some cases, even other Texas school districts, continue to discuss questions we don't even ask anymore. They ask, can all students learn? We know the answer to that question. They ask, is it our job to reach every student? Of course it's our job. They ask, are we accountable? Yes, we are all accountable. That's a silly question. And finally, they ask, can we really pull this off? And Waco ISD's answer is yes, we can, yes, we will. Even though the legislature still has most school systems in a financial crisis, both with underfunded and with unequally funded school districts, even though we are disappointed that we didn't quite do as well as we expected on last year's test, our best days are ahead of us because we are focused, because of what we learned last year, because we are vigilant, and because we will give our best effort. We can earn high ratings on all campuses. Those elementaries that some people may be thinking, well, those are elementary. Do you know how they're helping you at the middle school and then at the high school? So a lot of times, if you're getting all these kids, then sometimes we're kind of unteaching kids if they come to us. We are going to step up our game in all areas. We can earn high ratings on all campuses. And to do that, we must work hard and work together. And Dr. Chris Everett, our Executive Director for Curriculum and Instruction, will give you an overview of that 2013-14 work plan. Dr. Everett.
Okay. So the great thing about what I do is that if you're a back row person, I'm mobile. And so, because I can't stand still long enough to deliver an entire talk, I've got to be able to move. So I get to come right to you. And if you know anything else about me, you know that there's going to be opportunities for you to turn and talk today. So we're going to practice a little bit of instruction so that when that time occurs, you'll know exactly what to do. You ready? When I tell you to go, not before I tell you to go, I'm going to ask you to do something, but not until I tell you to go. So don't do anything until I've told you to go. What you're going to do when I've told you to go is you're going to turn to your neighbor. If you've got two, you need to make a choice. With your neighbor, you're going to make eye contact, appropriately please, but you'll make eye contact. And you're going to repeat the following statement. Now remember though, it's not until I say, go, right? So no, not until then. But when you do that, you've made eye contact appropriately. You're going to look at your neighbor. And you're going to say, I'm so glad you're here. And I'm so glad you got to sit next to me. Okay? So when I say go, I'm so glad you're here and I'm so glad you got to sit next to me. Go. Very good, very good. Now, the part of the bookend there that I didn't give you was how to come back, so let me get you back. You did excellent, followed instructions very well. I'm not trying to create a competition, but I will say that we had to repeat that activity this morning because instructions weren't quite followed. But you all did great. There will be opportunities today where we turn and talk to one another. There are a couple things we're going to talk through. So over the next 10 to 55 minutes, we'll get through them. Now, I committed to 10, and I think I got close to 18 this morning. I'm going to try to go a little faster. What I hope to do in the next bit of time is to talk with you a little bit about things that you've already been hearing about. If you're new to the district, you've just completed or are currently completing 2 fairly grueling weeks. A lot of information. You don't have to respond to that because I'm quite certain it would be resounding affirmation. If you are a returning teacher, you're completing a pretty grueling week yourself in anticipation of Monday. But there are some really important things that we've been working through over the last, really, since last spring. So I'm going to try to tie some of that together, hit you with some big picture things. I hope to teach you one thing that you may or may not know about. So at the end of this day, you should be able to tell someone what the letters PBMAS mean. Don't have to today, right now, but you should by the end of this talk. The other thing that I'm going to do is hopefully assert some hope, but I'd also, if you're okay with this, like to be really real about a couple of things. And it's not to offend, I hope, but to just be real. Schmoker talks about brutal facts and how important they are, and we just need to talk briefly about some brutal facts. We are celebrating today, let me tell you that first. That's a good thing. We are celebrating. So here's the big picture. Just 4 points, that's easy enough, right? Let's start with that first one. The W stands for why. This seems like something that ought to be obvious, but I think it bears the need to actually draw it out. Do you know why you're here? Do you really understand? Have you owned the reason you're in the seat that you're in? If you're not sure how you got in your seat, then we probably ought to talk. If you're errantly wandered into what you thought you were supposed to be in, we can work that out. Just hang in there. But if you're here because you're going to have kids show up in your classrooms Monday, or you play some part in supporting those that do, you should know why. Simon Sinek wrote a book called Start With Why. If you've seen this TED Talk, you know it's fairly powerful. So let me tell you my why. My why, the reason I'm standing here today, is because I fundamentally believe I can make a difference for a child. That is it. That really is. It may seem kind of simplistic, and you notice it's singular. I believe I can make a difference for a child. Now, I hope to repeat that why with every child that I come in contact with. But it's funny because you're probably sitting there thinking you don't even see kids. You're not on a campus. How can that be your why? Because I fundamentally believe that by supporting you, by putting the things in place that we put in place, the systems, the structures, the resources, whatever it is that we're talking about, it is to support you so that, don't get confused by this, not because of who you are, but because of who you serve. Right? So I believe I'm serving students, changing kids' lives by serving you. That's my why. Now let's just assume that you're sitting in the chair today, you've recognized, as noted by Mr. Atkins, that you're probably not here for the funding. You are sitting here because you potentially hold the same why. Maybe you haven't really thought about it that way, but that is really it for you. If we share the same why, you and I, what does that mean? What does that really mean about what we're doing here today? Whose why is it then? What did you say? Our why. It's a we why, right? So let me just tell you that I think if we can agree that that is our why, the next really important thing is to ensure something happens. See, Simon Sinek talks about two other pieces of this triad. Really, this book is written for business, entrepreneurship. When he talks about the most successful businesses, the most successful entrepreneurs are those that base their work around their why, not the how and the what. Not the how and the what. Those that focus on the how and the what have less loyal following, they're less profitable, all of those things. He says this quote, this is actually his words, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. Right? But here's the kicker. Those that have a really well-defined why, their how and their what have to match. They have to support the why. Otherwise, you're lying to yourself, maybe, if you've not expressed your why, but regardless, you're not true about your why. Now, I have to evaluate this constantly. That my why, I believe I can fundamentally impact, be the difference maker for a child. So I always have to think about, is the how and the what matching that? So here's what I would hope that you would do. If you've never thought about it, think about it. If you thought about it a lot, but you've just kind of been recalled, it's been recalled back, you're tired, so it was good to have that recalled back, write it down. Because look, everybody knows the October-November funk will come. You're looking at me like I don't want to admit that, but you know what the October-November funk is, right? Those kids that are most challenging, that challenge you the most, that push your buttons the most, they never miss between September and November. They are never gone. And that's a good thing. We need them here. But you may need to recall the why in those months. So if you haven't done it, do that. Okay, that's part one. All right, what is all this talking about? We're really talking about individuals here. It's really what it comes down to, right? I said my why was based on a singular statement. A child. Repeated over and over again. So I'm going to try to teach you something. It's pretty important here, okay? So here's what I'm going to try to teach you about. TEA is an acronym. I think most of you probably understand what that means. STAR is an acronym. I think everybody gets that one. You don't have to raise your hand, but I'm pretty certain that the majority aren't quite clear on what PBMAS stands for. But it's pretty critical that you do. You don't have to necessarily understand it because, quite frankly, I'm still working on figuring it out myself. And it changes a lot, but you need to understand what these letters mean. Okay? So here's how we're going to do this. I've got a volunteer. Sarah is going to come up. And we're going to model for you what's going to happen. But you have to participate in this. Now, I will tell you, Waco High, feeder pattern this morning, they rocked this. I mean, they totally got it. No pressure for you all. Okay, your afternoon group, you got that whatever you ate sitting heavy, but you got to lock in here. This is important stuff. So I'm gonna divide these letters between Sarah and I. I'm gonna be the P and the M. Sarah's gonna be the B and the A. Together, we're gonna be the S. All right? So what I need you to do quickly, but not until I tell you to go. When I tell you to go, what I want you to do is with whoever you shared that lock of gaze earlier, go back to them and decide on how you're going to divide. Are you going to be the P and the M, or are you going to be the B and the A? When you've done that, quickly come back to center so we can move forward, right? The longer you take there, the longer we're all here. Go. All right? We should know at this time who the P and the M are. We should know who the B and the A are. Interestingly, some of you are really kind of probably in your head thinking B and A, that's me, right? Because it stands for something else. Not the same. So if you're a P and an M, like I am, P and M's, raise your hand. P and M's, raise your hand. Okay. Listen to what I'm saying. What I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to say what P stands for. Then I'm going to say to you, what does P stand for? And you'll chorally respond, P's, right? You got to really pay attention to this because the B and the A's right now aren't listening. They have tuned me out. When I say, what does P stand for? Chorally, you'll respond with what P stands for. P stands for performance. Some of you are going, dang, I'm wrong already. Performance. What does P stand for? Performance. Great, thank you. M, P's and M's, remember, stay locked in. P stands for performance. M stands for monitoring. What does M stand for? Monitoring. Excellent. All right, B's and A's, raise your hand for me, please. B's and A's. All right, you lock in now. You've got actually a harder task than P and M. P and M only have to know 2 words. You have to know 3. B. B stands for based, as in based on. Based. Okay? What does B stand for? Based. Based. Now, A. You ready? More complicated. I told you, 2 words here. 2 words. And analysis. Now, and analysis. And this and, I'm not kidding you, could be the most important and on the face of the planet. It's serious. So what does A stand for? Right. Now I'll just tell you that the S stands for system. System. So just to review quickly, and then I'm going to show you what I'm going to want you to do in just a second. Don't do it now, because I want you to watch us model. But performance-based monitoring and analysis system. So I'm the P and the M, Sarah's the B and the A, we're together the S, the system. So what this is going to look like is, see, I learned my P and M. She learned her B and A, but it's not my job to teach her the P and the M and her to teach me the B and the A. With me on that? So I'm going to say performance. It's almost like password. She's going to say
Based.
Based. I'm going to say monitoring. She's going to say
And analysis.
And then together, this is the fun part, together we're going to bring it all home with a high five and say, correlate together, system. Ready? Now, we're going to do it one time. Now, some of you are going, I can't high five. I'm a coordination challenge. I've never been able to do that. Oh, my God. Some of you are hearing your person say that, and they're like, are you going to hit my forehead? What's going to happen here? So let me give you a tip. I know we got coaches in the room. I learned this while coaching. This does not fail. I tested it on somebody who did not know earlier, and he is shocked and amazed. If you're a coordination challenge, you have a difficulty making good high five with people, this is an important skill. You just look at their elbow. Now it's rude because you're not making eye contact, but who really makes eye contact when you're high fiving anyway? Look at their elbow. You will never miss. If they will also look at your elbow, like if this is a shared understanding, these are the best high fives ever. All right? So again, start to finish. Don't do it yet. Here we go. Performance.
Based.
Monitoring.
And analysis.
System. Now, oh, see, they're cheating. You're practicing. Here we go. When I say go, with your partner, appropriately, teach each other go. Good? You got it? Really good? Why not? Now, you can test this elbow theory all you want. It works every time, I promise. Okay, here we go. Good job. Excellent. Now, the important thing here is that you know what those letters stand for. If I come onto campus and I stop you, I want to know what the B stands for. You think about this first, right? Think about it if you've had a bad morning. But it's an important system within our accountability system. It technically is bad. To be real with you, PBMAS is not fun. When you're staged in PBMAS, when you get this report, you want zeros. The scoring goes 0 to 4. 4 is real bad. 3s, there's a whole bunch of work that has to happen. 1s and 2s, you have to constantly be monitoring these indicators. It's much more complicated, but you need to know that it's important. Because, see, what's happening is that we're staged as a district. We're staged in multiple programs. Meaning, staged means there's stuff we've got to do. And you know what? It's not rocket science. It's actually stuff we should be doing. So, some of the things that are working through our system right now that we're trying to work are really a function of the PBMAS report and the things that we're trying to do. Here's what you need to know. PBMAS ultimately is about intervention. That's it. That's all you really have to know. It's about knowing every one of them. It's about having systems and structures in place that no one falls through the cracks, that everybody has a plan, that there is effort on everybody's part for each and every one. Remember, tie it back to why. If I believe I can fundamentally make a difference in every kid's life, I've got to know them. That's all it's about. If we do those things, if we really know them and we really make sure that we don't let anybody fall through the cracks, PBMAS becomes one of those things that we used to have to deal with. But it also means that our kids are getting everything they need. Okay. All right. So that's the end of that. Everybody knows what PBMAS means? All right. Don't lose sight of that. Principals, every faculty meeting, we ought to have a high five. What's PBMAS stand for? I'm kidding. You don't have to, but I would if I were you. All right. Here's the next piece. We've been working really hard on a system. Now, some people don't know that really in a district this size, I was glad Dr. Kane had kind of rattled off some of those statistics, but a system is crucial. It's crucial for you individually. But we've been working real hard to tie the system together. There were a lot of disparate parts, unconnectedness. We're trying really hard to tie that together in a way that makes sense. That often requires change, and that's the difficult part. I get it. Okay? But let me try to summarize the components of the system. Here's the first part. I am so glad that we're celebrating today. I'm glad we're celebrating Met Standard. I'm glad we're celebrating committed performance and distinctions. But here's the real part. If you really look at our data, the physical number, the actual numbers, there's room for improvement. There's a lot, actually, of work to do. Now, we're going to get another year of phase one, which is great. That gives us a little breathing room. But what it means is that we have got to go now. And I mean right now. Because in a year, we go to phase two. So what that means is that, quite frankly, a year's growth isn't enough. What we believe is that if we can really get into understanding the student expectations at a deeper level, it's part of the Lead Forward work that you've been engaged in probably this week. Committing to those 3 standards that I'm going to get to know better so that our instruction matches the level 3 expectation, not the level 2. That's one of the things that hasn't really come out a whole lot, but level 3 performance is going to begin to play into accountability in a much larger way. We have ground to cover so that we don't meet a bunch of standard next year and we get hammered by phase 2. I told you it was going to get a little bit real. But what I want you to understand that part is hard. To realize that, to accept that, to own it, to embrace it, but it's where we're at. And if we're going to get there, you've got to do it. You've got to own that struggle. I love that our superintendent often, when she describes the work that has to be done here, she says it's not for the faint of heart. Now, I want you to hear this part. I'm going to say it again at the end. But I believe we can do it. I really do. I think this piece where we're all committed to working on student expectations, and once we get that feedback from you on which student expectations we're focused on, that you want to focus on, we're immediately building PD, opportunities for growth, all of those things around that. So this commitment is huge. Commitment to pace, commitment to scope and sequence, all crucially important. Okay, the other piece is our instructional framework. And we just pull up this first page. I think hopefully you've all seen this document at this point, but this is just the defined expectation. This is not groundbreaking. This can be used, these strategies can be used in every classroom, every content area. It may look a little different, but this is what we're committing to. This was developed not just by one department. This has been a huge collaborative, district collaborative, to design this document. Now, 2 things here. I want you to realize that all of that pressure to improve is there. But you're not doing it alone, right? if you don't have any idea what problem solving even means, you'll be able to get more information. And if you say, this is where I need to grow, we're going to help you do that. This is a hard statement to hear, but in light of the challenge, we're not going to tutor our way out of it. Right? What it means is that at the Tier 1 level, the classroom level, our great teachers, the ones, there are a lot of them, there are great teachers in Waco ISD, have to get better. I some days think I'm fairly decent at what I do. Other days people tell me otherwise. But I've got to get better. Dr. Shepard, great principal, at least in his own mind, has to get better. Right? And that's okay. Look, this is the reality of the situation. But if we look at each other and we go, we have the same shared why, we've got to get better, and we own it together and we get better. All right? Because in the end, our kids deserve it. The last part of this is assessment. This is a little quiz for all new teachers. Anybody that was here last week? Why do we assess? There are only two reasons. To ask two questions. That's the second question. What's the first question? I'm a terrible teacher. To ask why and what next. That's it. It's the only reason we should be assessing. Is to ask why and what next. And that doesn't mean just a test. If I'm walking around listening to small group purposeful talk, I'm assessing. And I should be asking, why aren't they talking about the things that I told them to talk about? Why are they talking about something that is school related, but they missed something? What do I do next, right? That's how the assessment piece should work. Checkpoints, DBAs, all of those things should be about those two questions, why and what next. Okay, the last thing. I'm glad we have a D. I've always wanted to use, we've got to be determined. We have great teachers in Waco ISD. We have much work to do, but we've got to own this piece right here. We've got to be relentless. Relentless in our pursuit of kids, relentless in our pursuit of professional development, relentless in our pursuit of the best, most engaging instructional environment that we can provide. We've got to be relentless in our pursuit of their parents. We've got to be relentless in our pursuit of giving them everything they need. Hear me when I say this. I realize it's hard. But we got to be relentless. We can do this. Hear me say this. We can do this. I use Twitter for professional development. I know that seems geeky, but that's what I do. So I look at posts from various educational organizations and different educators from around the state of Texas and all over the nation, really. And I saw this tweet late last night. You only get one shot at the first day of school. So here's what I'm going to tell you. This is going to be a great year. You are in the right place. I am excited about the people that sit before us and that are ready to do the work that has to be done. I'm excited about the plans we have to support you. I'm excited about the progress that we've made in putting these systems in place and trying to tie some of this stuff together. I am excited for you to get to be the difference for a child in your room. See, I missed that part. But I'm excited for you to have the opportunity to really get in there and change somebody's life. You only get one first day, so make it the best you can and have a fantastic school year. Thanks.
Now would be the time that we would introduce our guest speaker. And we had a wonderful guest speaker. We had the guest speaker. We had planned for Dr. Rita Pearson to continue, follow up on Dr. Everett's talk with a discussion about great teachers and great teaching and exactly what our jobs are. As you know, Dr. Pearson unexpectedly died at the end of June. For those of you who worked with her or studied at her feet, you are painfully aware of what a loss that was. Many of you, because I've seen her schedule for the fall, many of you had appointments with her last week, this week, and throughout the year that you wanted her to come by and help you, or you'd already been talking to her about things and you were planning for her to come. I'm not one who believes in having videos for a convocation, and I wouldn't ever, but one, it was so late that we learned this, to have bringing a different convocation speaker of her caliber was just impossible. And two, she had just been to Baylor and made some films for Baylor for their brand new teachers, their new teaching program. So we have taken some of those clips and we have taken her TED Talks. It's about 13 minutes. It is pure Rita. It is sad in a way because it just reinforces what we're going to miss. But in another way, it will be her legacy, because her legacy was for everyone to know what she knew and to work with children like she worked with children, and to know that every child counts. School was out for the summer when we lost her, so many of you didn't even have that opportunity for closure that some of the rest of us had, and there's kind of a hole. So this will help. Okay, let's go, guys.
So let's talk about what happens when there's no relationship in the classroom. James Comer says, no significant learning occurs without a significant relationship. Booker T. Washington said, education is relationships. And so something you might not have ever read in a book anywhere is that your children will not learn from you if they don't like you. Have you ever heard that? Oh no, somebody will say, well, they don't have to like me, they just have to respect me. Well, who do you like that you don't respect, and who do you respect that you don't like? They do go hand in hand. So there's a difference between a single mom or a single dad who is forced to work multiple jobs just to make ends meet, as opposed to a more educated mom or dad who only has to work one job. What I want you to key in on here is single parent, because many of your single parents are well educated, they are on top of things in terms of what their child needs, and they will be just as approachable and accessible to you as our parent groups number 1 and 2. Sometimes we pigeonhole kids and situations, and it ends up backfiring on us. My girlfriend, who is a hospital administrator, got a divorce when her son was younger. And so she said, David came home from school one day and says, Mom, Nick says because you and my dad got a divorce, I'm from a broken home. She said, you go back and tell Nick we got rid of the broke piece, we're fine now. So sometimes it just depends on the situation and how it happens. I want you to enter your classrooms with as much power as you possibly can and with as much understanding as you possibly can about the students that you're going to teach. All of you will not enter the same kinds of classrooms. Some of you will enter situations that are perfect. The kids are all great. They do their homework. Their parents call you back. There will be no issues, and they will bring you presents. Some of you will go into situations where you get no presents. You might not even get a good morning. But guess what, guys? All of those kids are expected to achieve and to make gains and progress under your care. And I want you to be armed with as much ammunition as you possibly can be to make sure that that happens. One of the things that never comes up is that the rules for schools are different. that there are rules that you get on paper. When you walk into the door, the first thing the principal is probably going to give you is the handbook. How many of you have seen the handbook? And that school handbook is supposed to have all the information in it that you could possibly need. But a handbook that you will not get, but information that you will be responsible for knowing, is all of that stuff that can't be written down. And those are called hidden rules, the ones that we don't talk about, the ones we just expect everybody to know. I want to define it for you. A hidden rule is a cue that lets people know whether you belong to a group or whether you do not belong to a group. Let me ask you something. And guess what? On top of that, if you break the rule, nobody tells you what you did wrong. They just look at you funny, kind of like something moving in the trash. Without adequate financial resources, many times our kids fail. They don't have the money for school supplies. They don't have the money for field trips, or they don't have the money to buy the products or the supplies necessary for a project. And so as you embark upon your career, wherever you are, I want you to analyze, does this student have enough financial resource to compete in my classroom? Is paper there? But now I want you to be careful, because you will sometimes enter into a situation where if the kids don't have it, you just immediately want to run out and buy it. You want to be careful that you don't breed a dependent behavior within your classroom. Sometimes you got to make them work for it. You know, you're the line leader for the day, so you can get that pencil that you want from me, and you have to be the door holder, and you have to be the one that passes out the exams that we finished this week if you want to borrow my pen. And so I didn't ask for tennis shoes. I didn't want their stinky shoes, but I would ask for deposits so that I could make sure that I got my stuff back. I want kids to recognize the power of financial resource, and the sooner they recognize it, the better. That means that they will have respect for your things. That when you buy pencils, when you buy crayons for the class, when you provide extra notebooks for your high school students, that they don't see that as a giveaway and a freebie, and that you owe that to them. I have spent my entire life either at the schoolhouse, on the way to the schoolhouse, or talking about what happens in the schoolhouse. Both my parents were educators. My maternal grandparents were educators. And for the past 40 years, I've done the same thing. And so needless to say, over those years, I've had a chance to look at education reform from a lot of perspectives. Some of those reforms have been good, some of them have been not so good. And we know why kids drop out. We know why kids don't learn. It's either poverty, low attendance, negative peer influences. We know why. But one of the things that we never discuss, or we rarely discuss, is the value and importance of human connection. Relationships. James Comer says that no significant learning can occur without a significant relationship. George Washington Carver says all learning is understanding relationships. Everyone in this room has been affected by a teacher or an adult. For years, I have watched people teach. I have looked at the best, and I've looked at some of the worst. A colleague said to me one time, they don't pay me to like the kids. They pay me to teach a lesson. The kids should learn it. I should teach it. They should learn it. Case closed. Well, I said to her, you know, kids don't learn from people they don't like. She said, that's just a bunch of hooey. And I said to her, well, your year is going to be long and arduous, dear. Needless to say, it was. Some people think that you can either have it in you to build a relationship or you don't. I think Stephen Covey had the right idea. He said you ought to just throw in a few simple things, like seeking first to understand as opposed to being understood. Simple things like apologizing. You ever thought about that? Tell a kid you're sorry, they're in shock. I taught a lesson once on ratios. I'm not real good with math, but I was working on it. And I got back and looked at that teacher edition. I taught the whole lesson wrong. So I came back to class the next day and I said, look, guys, I need to apologize. I taught the whole lesson wrong. I'm so sorry. They said, that's okay, Miss Pearson. You were so excited. We just let you go. I have had classes that were so low, so academically deficient that I cried. I wondered, how am I going to take this group in 9 months from where they are to where they need to be? And it was difficult. It was awfully hard. How do I raise the self-esteem of a child and his academic achievement at the same time? One year I came up with a bright idea. I told all my students, you were chosen to be in my class because I am the best teacher and you are the best students. They put us all together so we could show everybody else how to do it. One of the students said, really? I said, really? We have to show the other classes how to do it. So when we walk down the hall, people will notice us. So you can't make noise, you just have to strut. And I gave him a saying to say, I am somebody. I was somebody when I came. I'll be a better somebody when I leave. I am powerful and I am strong. I deserve the education that I get here. I have things to do, people to impress, and places to go. And they said, yeah. You say it long enough, it starts to be a part of you. And so, I gave a quiz, 20 questions. Student missed 18. I put a +2 on this paper and a big smiley face. He said, Miss Pearson, is this an F? I said, yes. He said, then why'd you put a smiley face? I said, because you on the roll. You got 2 right, you didn't miss them all. I said, and when we review this, won't you do better? He said, yes, ma'am, I can do better. You see, -18 sucks all the life out of you. +2 said, I ain't all bad. For years, I watched my mother take the time at recess to review, go on home visits in the afternoon, buy combs and brushes and peanut butter and crackers to put in her desk drawer for kids that needed to eat, and a washcloth and some soap for the kids who didn't smell so good. See, it's hard to teach kids who stink. And kids can be cruel. And so she kept those things in her desk, and years later, after she retired, I watched some of those same kids come through and say to her, you know, Miss Walker, you made a difference in my life. You made it work for me. You made me feel like I was somebody when I knew at the bottom I wasn't. And I want you to just see what I've become. And when my mama died 2 years ago at 92, there were so many former students at her funeral. It brought tears to my eyes, not because she was gone, but because she left a legacy of relationships that could never disappear. Can we stand to have more relationships? Absolutely. Will you like all your children? Of course not. And you know your toughest kids are never absent. Never. You won't like them all, and the tough ones show up for a reason. It's the connection, it's the relationships. And while you won't like them all, the key is they can never, ever know it. So teachers become great actors and great actresses, and we come to work when we don't feel like it, and we listen to policy that doesn't make sense, and we teach anyway. We teach anyway because that's what we do. Teaching and learning should bring joy. How powerful would our world be if we had kids who were not afraid to take risks, who were not afraid to think, and who had a champion? Every child deserves a champion, an adult who will never give up on them, who understands the power of connection and insists that they become the best that they can possibly be. Is this job tough? You betcha. Oh God, you betcha. But it is not impossible. We can do this. We're educators. We're born to make a difference. Thank you so much.
There is nothing I could possibly add to what she has said. Our kids come Monday. Let's get out there and make a difference. Thank you.